it says, inside this configuration file, you can create an arbitrary number of fastCGI pools, which are defined by the IP and port they listen on, just like Apache virtual hosts. Okay, here's my PHP-FPM.conf, and on Ubuntu, it's configured differently. So actually, what they're talking about here would really be included within these *.conf files. And in my case, I only have one of those. So let's go back to that file. cd pool nano ww. And I guess just having this over here, that configures a pool named www. So it established that pool. And then it establishes its user and group, which is the same as Apache's user and group. It says where it should listen. And I see that it doesn't specify a port, an IP address or a port. Let me go down. Okay, so I guess this listens on the local host by default. And I really don't know what difference it makes, which port it listens to. Because when a request comes in, that request is coming into Apache. It's not coming in directly to PHP. So I think the IP and the port number are kind of irrelevant, unless you're configuring Apache so that it knows who to communicate with, like where their IP is and which port they use. And I guess maybe if you're using sockets, you don't even use IP and ports. Use sockets. Apparently, the pool of FPM PHP processes listens on the system. Now, it can listen using a TCP socket, which means an IP address and port number. And by the way, it's listening for incoming requests made by Apache. It's not listening for requests made by a client like a browser or a user using a browser. So it can listen using 3 different methods, and they're listed all here. 1, 2, 3. Actually, there's 4. And the 4th one is the one that we are using because it's not commented. So here it's listening on a file system location, and this type of listening is called listening using sockets. And this is the address on the file system of this socket. And here is what is said in this document on my left side about this. It says the most important setting in each pool is the TCP socket, but actually in our system we're not using the TCP socket, we're using just a file system socket. And then it says or Unix domain socket. PHP-FPM will be listening on to receive fastCGI requests, and that means requests from Apache. This is configured using the listen option. As you can see here on the right side, it says listen equals. The default pool, which is www, has this configured to listen on the loopback IP on port 9000. And actually in our system, it's not using that. It's using this file system socket. it will only respond to requests on the local loopback network interface. In my case, actually, it will only respond to requests by the web server, which has access to the file system of the computer. So that's how it has access. So obviously, any process on a different computer system is not going to be able to access the file system, so it won't be able to connect to our pool. Okay? I mean, it won't be able to connect directly. Of course, anybody can connect if they use, if they are able to connect to Apache itself, and then Apache will connect to that socket. Okay, so, also of interest are the per pool user and group options, which allow you to run that specific FPM pool under the given user ID and group ID. Okay, which allow you to run that specific pool under. Okay, in other words, whenever that pool does something on the system and it documents who it is, it's going to use that definition that we have here for the user and the group. I just want to add one more thing. This leaves me wondering, okay, what if I define another pool besides www? Will I also have to define a socket for it to listen on? Or can I have all my pools listening on the same socket? But I guess nothing in this document talks about how you would create other pools. The other thing is, I don't know if having one pool would be considered to be enough to serve the purpose of having PHP-FPM. I think the reason I'm using PHP-FPM instead of the regular PHP is that I would have multiple processes. So is it enough for me just to be able to have multiple processes in one pool? You know what? Thinking about it, I think that would be okay. Then the purpose of having more pools may be so that you could run other computers with their own pools. And that's why they allow TCP sockets. So if I have one virtual machine, then all I need is to have one pool. Okay? So the option of having other pools is just there so that I can run PHP processes on another computer and be able to access them through the same Apache web server on this computer. Okay.